Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and that's right. The Star Trek marathon has begun. The first marathon for this year, and this is also the first review for the first week of January. So yeah, that's right. The Wrath of Khan. Yes, the second Star Trek film, and this is the one that saved the Star Trek franchise. And if you guys remember, I did review the motion picture. If you haven't, for those of you that haven't seen it, go check it out. But yeah, so, and the thing is, because when Star Trek the motion picture came out, it wasn't, that horrible or anything. It was okay, but it didn't really, get the Star Trek franchise back up on its feet and such. But it wasn't until the next Star Trek film, The Wrath of Khan, really what kicked Star Trek into high gear again. The Wrath of Khan, it's a fantastic Star Trek film, and I think everybody considers it one of the best. And it's my number 2 favorite Star Trek film, actually. Fun fact. It's got such a great story to it. And of course, the cast of characters: William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, James Doohan, DeForest Kelley, Walter Kane, Nichelle Nichols, and George Takei, the original crew of the Enterprise, and along with new characters like Lieutenant Savick in this one, in the Wrath of Khan, being played by Kirstie Alley, and also the captain of the USS Reliant, kind of like the first starship we see aside from the Enterprise, mostly. Paul Winfield plays Captain Clark Terrell, the captain of the Reliant, as I said. I'd even say John Winston, who plays Kyle, who's serving on the Reliant. He's the British actor, and his character being British, who was in the original series, running the transport room, and of course the one of the best villains of Star Trek, Khan Noonien Singh, played by legendary Ricardo Montalban. Yes, the legendary actor himself, Ricardo Montalban. Because after playing him for the first time, in the episode Space Seed of the original series, and years later, and 2 decades later, he would come back to the role of Khan, and technically for the last time. And so, because the Reliant are arriving at the planet, and where, the captain and Chekhov, they come face to face with Khan, and that whole controversy where, Chekhov was never present in the Space Seed episode, but he technically was. We just never saw him on screen. Him coming face-to-face with Khan, and, even Shatner describing it, so, and which actually earned Chekhov the rank, of the gold uniform and so on, of Ensign Chekhov, etc. But, anyways, and also, one thing in this, and that would be also with the next 2 Trek films after this, the Genesis Project, and with Dr. Carol Marcus, played by Bibi Besh, if I'm even saying the full name right, and her son, David Marcus, played by Merritt Budrick, if I'm saying the last name right, I don't know. And, we find out, of course, David is the son of Admiral Kirk. Yep, and the music is fantastic, I should say, by the late, great, legendary composer James Horner, Nicholas Myers, who's a great writer and director, and he directed this. It's from him and James Horner, and I guess a couple of others. They did not see anything Star Trek, but yet they did this, and it still turned out great. It did. Guess that's the thing. Some people who have not familiar with Star Trek and so on, sometimes they'd be lucky at making them great, making Star Trek films great that they're attached. Sometimes, as I say. Also, I'm trying to remember, the visual effects are fantastic, of course. ILM, back when they were really making stuff great, like in the early 80s and throughout, throughout the 1980s and even up to the early 1990s with, using practical models and stuff like that. It's just amazing. I love that kind of stuff. I am a fan of, like, say, when it comes to, like, using model ships, for movies. It's just fantastic, and even, like, this was, like, Wrath of Khan was, like, one of the first films where, like, I think so, yeah, like, CG being used, and with the Genesis project, a test video of what the Genesis weapon does to a dead planet, and bringing life to it. And, like, the action scenes with the Enterprise versus the Reliant, which, Khan hijacked, him and his people hijacked, and, Khan's son as well. I think this is him, yeah. Judson Scott plays Joaquin, if I'm saying that right, yeah. It's him, yeah, because I'm looking at, because judging by his face, yeah. It's got some emotional stuff to it, and it's funny moments, like, and even at one point, like, earlier in the film, and, like, there was a test run, of Savick, training to, like, be what it would take to be a captain of a starship, and even, like, say, at one point, like, Kirk's birthday is happening, and just, yeah, and even, like, one line that Kirk says, like, after the test run, like, I thought, aren't you dead? Aren't you supposed to be dead? Yeah, like, talk about what would happen at the end of the film, am I right? Ha, ha, ha. Anyways, so even, like, say, when the captain of the Reliant and Chekhov, they're being tortured by Khan and being put, like, seduced by him, or not seduced, but kind of being mind-controlled by those worms, what I'm talking about? And I just love it when, like, say, after, like, say, the captain of the Reliant kills himself to save them, and then the worm, like, the worm, like, gets out of Chekhov's ear, like, Chekhov just collapses to the floor, gets out of his ear, and, like, McCoy's like, my God, what is it? And Kirk, he just flat out vaporizes it, because, yeah, it totally deserved to be burned, to, like, destroyed, phasered to crisp, because, it tortured Chekhov, And, the infamous scene where, Kirk loses it at Khan, and, Khan's lines, I shall leave you as you left me, marooned on a dead planet, buried alive. And, of course, the infamous Khan! Yeah, but anyways, and the climax to it and entering the Nutaria Nebula cloud, yeah, and, the Enterprise finally, like, taking it out on the Reliant, destroying part of it, and, like, one of the nacelles, and Khan activating the Genesis torpedo, and the Enterprise really can't get out of there because, the damage to the Enterprise and the shields and the hyperdrive, and Spock, being a hero and sacrificing himself to get the Enterprise back up and running properly and for it to go into hyperspace. And even, like, Khan's last breath of words and, like, seeing that the Enterprise is trying to escape. Like, some people say that, hey, that Khan's reaction, like, as he was about to die, like, his face, like, because, is like, at the end, just, he's, like, kind of crunching down as he's, like, slowly dying. Some people say that his reaction should have been right when the Enterprise goes into hyperspace. And I don't know, but that's how the movie turned out, and that's what they did. So, but yeah, the Reliant being destroyed and the Genesis planet happening, and a sad part of the film, of course, the death of Mr. Spock. And, Spock's last breath of words, I have been and always shall be your friend, and live long and prosper. And Spock dying and a funeral happening, and the torpedo that he's in and fired at the Genesis planet, and an emotional scene with Kirk and his son, and and David saying, I am proud to be your son, and they hug, and and some of the deleted scenes that were in this, like, I think, like, there's an extended edition of the film, but some of the deleted scenes, like, there's one part where, as, Kirk and David, they make their way back to the bridge, and, David and Savick meet for the first time, and immediately they go eye to eye, you know? And let me just say, like Kirstie Alley's performance as Saavik was not that bad, you know? But the thing is, like, I don't know, like, Saavik, like, okay, she had the pointy ears, but her eyebrows, and when she shed a tear, like, I don't know, I can't remember if, like, I've seen, like, people complaining about that with Saavik having a tear. Well, you know, because of Spock, you know what I'm saying? And oh, another thing is, like, that speech that Kirk gives, you know, of all the souls I've encountered, you know, his was the most human. Yeah, and that's the thing, because Spock being half human, so... but, you know, Spock going, you know, choosing the logic of a Vulcan. But still, you know, like, sometimes Spock would have his human moments, for sure. And so, you know, with the ending to it, like, everybody just looking out in the view screen of the bridge of the Enterprise, and we get, like, a montage and, like, you know, shots of the Genesis planet, and how beautiful it looks, and we see, of course, the torpedo tube, you know, with Spock, and... You know, we cut back to space, and we hear Spock's voice, you know, giving the famous lines, you know, space, the final frontier. And that's kind of a tease that, you know, Spock was coming back for the next Star Trek film. And thus, yeah, that's what it was. And when the movie was was finishing production and so on, and, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah. The Wrath of Khan is a fantastic and one of, if not one of the best Trek films. And I'm giving this a 10 out of 10, for sure. A 10 out of 10 stars for Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. And you guys let me know what you think of The Wrath of Khan, what you thought of my review. Leave comments and give this review a like as always. And you know what's next. You know, Spock's return. Yep, so stay tuned for that later tonight. So, with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of The Wrath of Khan, and, you know, for the start of the Star Trek Marathon. I'll see you guys in the next video / review. Take care, peace out, and live long and prosper.